So Ganesh, throughout our discussion, we had like fantastic examples from your personal life, professional life, and also about the business models that you have observed. Why is a business model so core to building a large company? And for our viewers, what if you had to distill and dumb it down? What exactly is a business model?
So business model really is about the way you create a value proposition, deliver the value proposition, and capture the value.
Yeah.
Okay, right? Monetize. So that really is the core of the business model. And typical framework that people use is a business model canvas, where you talk about various components of a business model. Okay, right? What problem are you solving? Who is the customer? Okay, right? What pain point? What are you offering? How are you different than competition? What they will
Yes.
be willing to pay for? Who are the partners? Who are the ecosystem that you work with to be able to deliver that product or value or service? So that is really the core of the business model. What's interestingly happening in this entire space is the way the value is being captured, the way it's being monetized. There are multiple options today emerging in new age business model. Okay, right? Take for example products which are the freemium business model. Okay, right? Where you give core services free and you charge for certain additional services. All of us are familiar with Zoom, with the YouTube, with LinkedIn, and all of that stuff. That's one example that is popular. The other concept that's happening is, we talked about pipelines and platform. The other thing that's happening in business model is the entire concept of envelopment, where companies are trying to have a user base and trying to go into adjacent areas, okay, right, which are not core, but because they exist, they are able to go to adjacent areas and envelop them, okay, right? And when they do that envelopment, the incumbents who are actually servicing those sectors feel threatened and they are under threat, okay, right? Take for example, even traditionally Netscape, okay, right? Great example. One of the best browsers, publicly listed company, 90% market share, kind of 90% market share. Okay, right? There's no competition. Okay, right. Then suddenly Microsoft came with Internet Explorer. Okay, right? Far inferior product in terms of product and features. But from a business model perspective, they said, I'm going to do bundling. It's part of the operating system. It is free. Okay. Suddenly, Netscape lost value. How do you compete with something that is free? It may be inferior in this. Slowly over time, they caught up. Okay, they did. Okay, right? But you can't sustain for long. So that's an example of envelopment. Same thing happened with Windows Media Player and Real Media Player. If you're familiar with this, Real Media Player again was an independent company valued at $18 billion or something like that, listed and all of the stuff. They had market share of 90%. Right? And very good product, lot of network effect. Server side where people were using it, client side it was free. So if you're going to host your podcast on video, you will do it on video. Yeah. Maybe you will have to pay for license, but all your viewers can view it free. So it had an automatic lock-in because the consumers were all on Windows Media Player. If I want to stream something, I had to come to you for Windows Media Player and pay you money for my server license. That was the way it worked. Okay, right? Suddenly Windows Media Player came in, they gave it free. Okay, right? Again, envelopment as an example. So that is a business model development that's happening. Very interesting thing we are seeing today because of AI. Okay, right? You're all familiar with software as a service. SaaS business model is clear. SaaS business model is a business model. I talked about it in the book. Yeah. India took a lead on it, was able to capture for multiple reasons why SaaS business model worked. Horizontal SaaS, like the Zohos of the world and Freshworks of the world, and vertical business model. Yeah. So, okay, vertical SaaS like Zenoti, and then developer tools came like Postman from India, Browser Stack, and all of those. That we are all familiar with. Now, what's happening because of AI is one more business model innovation or change. Not software as a service, but service as a software. That is the latest thing that's happening. So what's really happening is that earlier we needed human beings performing various roles using software tools to do various tasks in an organization. Today, if you are able to unbundle each of the tasks, you can have AI agents executing those tasks or use robotic process automation, others to be able to unbundle the task. So you don't require the same number of human beings doing that particular task. Take, for example, in a corporate travel booking. Okay, right? If you have to do corporate travel booking, there's one guy in the admin department or travel department. You give a requisition that you need to travel from here, Bangalore to Bombay. He will check your eligibility. You will find what you're eligible for, and you will try and go and do the booking in those hotels based on your level and eligibility, and based on your past preference, and based on your meetings. He will talk to your secretary. The secretary will tell, oh my God, he's got a 8 a.m. breakfast meeting.
Yeah.
Then you will try to book a hotel near your venue of the breakfast meeting. Similarly, when you catch a flight at land at 11 p.m. because that's what you can do because you have a previous meeting here, he will book you a hotel near hotel. All of this used to be done by the travel department, by your secretary, and some software they used to access online. Now, because of generative AI, because of AI agents, all of this can be automated. So now you're coming where not software as a service, but the service as a software. I can actually write a full combination of AI agents which will do this for a fee. So that is what is happening. So we are seeing pipelines to platforms to envelopment strategies to service as a software. Okay, right? And that is what is fascinating. Other than that, we also see business model. Take, for example, Amazon. Amazon was struggling. I'm talking about back in 2011, 2005, 2011 time frame. They were sued by Toys R Us. They lost the lawsuit. They were struggling to grow. Then a brilliant business model innovation came. What was that? They started this Amazon Prime service. They were the first people to start this concept of Amazon Prime, which is now copied by everybody in their business. What did they say? 2-day delivery, shipping, free, if you buy any product. Okay, master stroke. And Jeff Bezos, and you can see it on YouTube, he gave an interview where he said when they first proposed, they asked the finance department to do the modeling of it. And the modeling came out to be really bad. They were losing money hand over fist. Yeah. Okay, giving free delivery service because unit economics will break down. People will order one piece of chalk or one item, and then you lose free service. But they decided to go ahead with it. Now you see that's a money spinner, and that's example of a fundamental business model innovation that the whole world has copied. What did it do? It created a subscription thing. It created loyalty. It played on the psychology of people because you have paid some money upfront. You want to do paisa vasool.
Yes.
Okay. It created stickiness. You want to recover the subscription, so you'll order more. Because you order more, okay, right? They make more money. You become more comfortable. The frequency increases, and it becomes a habit. All because you paid, okay, some very small amount as subscription. Okay, right? More importantly, they kept on increasing the subscription price. They kept on adding more value. Okay. It started with 2-day shipping. Then came Amazon Music, Amazon Prime, videos, Kindle, books. Okay, right? So many things, they kept on adding value. And they created a monster by a business model innovation. Today, if you have to compete against Amazon subscription, if I'm a competitor wanting to do, I need to compete on all fronts. I need to have music of my own. I need to have video shows of my own, OTT content, Amazon Prime of my own. I need to be able to provide books on my own. I need to do everything. It's become almost impossible to dislodge the people. And that's a money spinner. It's like taking a commitment that you'll use that product. So that is a great example of how they managed to use this. So these are excellent business model innovation. And Netflix is another great example. Netflix was into DVD rentals. They are doing DVD rentals. In fact, the iconic red Netflix envelopes used to land up in, millions of them used to land up in the letter boxes of households. Then suddenly, they decided to increase the price, split DVD rental and streaming. Their market cap tanked. It fell by 80%. They lost 800,000 subscribers because they did not like the increase in price. Netflix had a decision to make. They said, should they go with DVD? Should they fight back? Should they change the pricing for DVD rental? Should they go for streaming? Or should they do both? They went all in with streaming because they could clearly see that DVD rental was a dying business. That one decision of business model saying that I will stream changed the fortunes forever. Of course, they have grown now. They do their own content and all of that stuff. That's another example of business model where they are capturing at the top of the funnel front-end users, building full stack, right down to competing with the Disneys of the world by building their own content. So if you look at Netflix today, it's a combination of content at one end to the front-end customer acquisition at the other end. And the beauty of Netflix, the reason I talk about it is, I've talked about in the book also, is that how they have used data. For example, after streaming, when they decided that they need to have their own content, okay, do you know what was the first show they did? House of Cards. Okay, right? House of Cards was the first show that they did. Now, for Disney to develop content, Universal Studios to develop content is very well known. How does a new age company, which is doing DVD rental or doing a streaming thing of various other people's content, how do they do it? They were clear because it was a platform business, because they had huge amount of data. They found out what people were binge watching. What were they actually looking for? They realized political drama was very high in terms of consumption. The stickiness engagement was very high. Second thing they realized out of all the shows, very interesting, that Kevin Spacey somehow had the maximum following. Okay, right? They loved Kevin Spacey. Yeah. The audience loved Kevin Spacey. So House of Cards was made not with creative intent like the way Disney or Pixar or others will do. Was made from pure cold data, political drama with Kevin Spacey. Okay, right? That is brilliant business model innovation that use data to see what is that. Now, of course, a lot of these OTTs use data. Okay, right? That was a big step forward that they can use it. The other innovation they did, again, it's a business model innovation, not in technology, but this is till that time, this House of Cards was launched, all the channels used to release one episode per week. If you remember, even in India, Ramayana or Mahabharata and all that stuff, because that used to be standard, okay, right? One episode per week, people are looking forward to it, they're talking about it, they're expectant and all that stuff. That is a normal thing, one episode per week. They will, obviously the producers don't make one episode every week. They make it in bulk, few weeks in advance, and they will do that stuff. Netflix was the first time came out with this thing, that they dropped all the 13 episodes of House of Cards at one stroke. People thought they were crazy. What is this? Who will do that? Then it changed the TV viewing forever. What we call as binge watching.
Yes.
Binge watching happened because of House of Cards and Netflix doing that. Today people do binge watch. No, today everybody releases together. Okay, right? Nobody does this. So whether it is using data, whether it's algorithms to be able to show you what you want to see, whether it's binge watching, these are all Netflix innovations. Okay, right? So I mean, we of course use Netflix and chill as a slang for something else, but the fact that they actually invented binge watching is very fascinating.
But don't you think history is written by victors? So only business models that we talked about are those which are written by victors. For example, it doesn't work in India that way, but in the US, the VCs, how they wrote many business models is, go capture the market. Once you become 70% share of a market, then monetize. Right? And I think Indian VCs also still try to follow it. Burn money as much as possible, but just make sure you become the monopoly, right? And nobody talked about Facebook business model till the longest point in time, or many of such parallel companies, Twitter, right? Because the goal was, how can, you have 70% of the market share and then think about monetization.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's one method of thinking, that if you are able to capture top of the funnel, if you are able to capture the attention, if you are able to capture that, then you have unique advantage. You can monetize in a number of manner. It's a combination of the mentality, the risk-taking ability, the ability to see that thing, and some proven successes. Okay, right? For example, despite being in new age business and all, never thought how Facebook will ever monetize or Snap will ever monetize. So Google is a great example. Okay, right? Search engines, Google was not the first search engine.
Yes.
Okay, right? So search engine was there before. I mean, I have used AltaVista, Yahoo, InfoSeek, Lycos before Google. Okay, right? So at least I know 4. I know there may be more also. I don't know. I've used those. Then Google search engine came. Okay, right? Nobody knew how it's going to monetize. None of them were able to monetize. But with PageRank, with advertising, with adverts, now it's a behemoth.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So while you can do that, you also need to be clear on eventually how are you going to monetize.
Yeah.
Okay, right? And in creator economy, what you do is another great example. Okay, right? And people are trying multiple ways. There are, of course, outliers who have their own products or brands.
Yeah.
To fan following, to subscription, or to product placements, or selling products. All of those are potential possibilities to be able to monetize once you have very large following or attention.
So now it's become popular in the US, and I think the trend is also coming to India. The biggest creators are usually the filmmakers, right? The actors in Hollywood. They started their own liquor brands, gin brands, tequila brands, and each of these brands was acquired by Diageo's of the world for $1 billion or $500,000 each. And now I think similarly trend is happening where Bollywood actresses are launching their own clothing labels. And
no, yeah, absolutely. See, today the ecosystems allows you, if you are an influencer, if you are a celebrity, if you are able to get eyeballs, following, the ecosystem and modern platform principles are the ability to make is possible today. You can outsource manufacturing, you can outsource packaging, you can outsource delivery. You are controlling the design. Okay, you can even do outsource contract manufacturing, and almost all the elements on a variable basis can be put together by you as the influencer, and you have million following. Therefore, if you launch and if you are authentic, if you stand behind it, you will be able to actually sell out of the million. Even if you sell 1%, you can build a large brand. And from the point of view of large FMCGs or companies, okay, right? This is one of the way to create. They cannot create 0 to 1.
Yes.
You already have created a 0 to 1. They can take it and actually go for distribution. Recent example, I don't know whether it's actually consummated or not. Hindustan Lever is rumored to be, Unilever India is supposed to be acquiring Minimalist, which is a science-based skincare brand. But that's a great example. It's a skincare brand, authentic brand. It's not a celebrity one, but they've made a breakthrough that people trust it because it's simple, minimal, less is more is the tagline.
Yeah.
Science-based. They explain the science behind all the skincare products that you're using so that you can choose. Okay, right? Very, very simple formula. But I'm sure, similar to celebrity example you're giving, lot of it's being done on a variable ecosystem basis. Yeah. Okay, right? 25 years back, 30 years back, if I were to do it, I had to have a factory. I had to do mass media advertising. I had to do warehousing, dealer, distributor, wholesaler, retailer. I can't do it as a new startup. Only large companies could launch one more brand. Today, the entire concept of D2C business model, and again, that's one of the chapters we talk about it, is based on the fact that consumers are on social media. They want personalized, authentic information. I, as a company, am able to, with very low capital investment, on an outsource, create an ecosystem to design, manufacture, package, deliver directly to consumer, cut the middleman, and do that. That's the beauty of the ecosystem.
But there are various questions on D2C business model. Let's say, for example, Mamaearth, which is the biggest case study right? They listed at $1 billion valuation, the last private valuation, and since then the share price has been on or below, sometimes above the listed price, right? And the reason is that they're saying that, hey, all the D2C companies are now becoming retail companies, because ultimately, if you have to penetrate a certain after a niche market, you have to be present across all the distributors, the retailers, and then you are competing with the usual giants like HUL and P&G.
No, very true. So the jury is still out. Minimalist is a great outlier example. I'm very happy to see that. Jury is still out on D2C business model per se at scale. Okay, right? There are several questions. Single biggest question is question of scale. Okay, right? Can I really create a big business? And what in management jargon we call it as, can I cross the chasm?
Yes.
Okay, is it going to be only early adopters who are going in for my product, which is good and great, but that doesn't build a 100 crore company.
Or that doesn't create let's say $1 billion revenue company.
$1 billion revenue company, or even 1 billion rupee revenue company. Okay, right? I mean, not even dollars, okay, right? How does it create that company? Because early adopters have adopted.
Yeah.
Beyond that, what are they going to, who is going to adopt? For which I have to reach mass scale. Now, mass scale is not online. Even today, e-commerce or BigBasket, whatever you call, it's a single-digit percentage adoption of e-grocery in India. Okay, right? Masses still buy offline. So for that, I have to do that. I have to go retail, offline retail. If I go to offline retail, all the challenges of offline retail, very high street prices, infrastructure cost, all of it comes in. Okay, right?
Yes.
So all of those are valid questions. How do you scale? So one of the things that people are addressing this is through this house of brands concept. You must have heard of Mensa brands.
Yeah.
Thrasio in the US.
Thrasio failed.
Yeah, Thrasio filed for bankruptcy. Mensa brands is here. So Thrasio failed for, I think, different reason. But that is one way saying that, can I aggregate multiple of these companies?
Yes.
Okay, right? And provide common infrastructure, marketing to warehousing to branding to this and all that stuff, and create a success out of it. And if I'm able to acquire these companies at reasonable low valuations, because they are not able to scale independently, can I do a string of pearls strategy? Okay, I'll have 10 such companies. Together they will reach the numbers that we are talking about.
Yeah.
Individually they will not reach the number. That's one theory. Still has to be proven out. Mensa brands is, great founders and good start ahead. Jury is still out. They still have to scale and do that. So that is the challenge with D2C.
Other challenge I would like to point out is that they assume the initial base of online users as loyal, but it's so easy to launch a different and a new D2C that the base that they assume is loyal shifts to from second to third to fourth. No,
absolutely, because the barrier to entry for D2C is small. Lots of people can launch quickly. Outsource manufacturing, outsource delivery, outsource packaging design, all of that on outsource basis. You and I can sit and launch if you have a good idea, a product is there. This was not possible in the old age business model. You need to have a factory, you need to have a license, you need to have distribution, you need to have distribution power, channel power to be able to even place your product in retail. Only Hindustan Lever and Procter & Gamble could place that product. Okay, right? So it was not possible for anybody to launch. Today, 2 is price. Initial try is by discount. If a new product comes and they are offering a discount, they'll do that.
Yeah.
And even the narratives on which you sell on might get slightly jaded. Somebody may offer better narrative. Okay. Or there could be bad publicity that what you said is organic and chemical free. Okay. I have some other product which is more organic or more chemical free or more authentic. I can do that. All of that is a challenge. How do you build loyalty into the sector, especially for niche areas? Okay, right? Beauty and personal care products is large, but I mean loyalty is tough.
Yeah, because still in villages, Lux by Unilever is the mass soap, but we don't hear about that kind of loyalty anywhere in Bangalore, like towns like soaps and everything changes on a monthly basis now.
Yeah, it does, because people get more information, they're willing to more experiment, they're willing to try and all that stuff. On this topic also, people are using Q-commerce. People are using different platforms. What is available on the platform in the next 10 minutes becomes more important.
Yeah.
So for brands which are not there on the platform, they lose out. So all of this forces us to change. And once I have changed, because this brand is not available on the Q-commerce app that I'm buying from,
Yeah.
and I like it, I may stick with it. So that it has drastically changed.